Hey Savant Squad, what is happening? Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Savant Life and also search for my page on Facebook and give it a big old thumbs up.
Hey, what is happening YouTube? Welcome back to another brand new episode of The Savant Life on a beautiful, rather sunny Sunday morning here in Bangalore City. And on today's episode, we're talking about a very, very interesting subject. A video that I've wanted to make for a very long time now because I think the war between these two brands has been going on for a very long time. And these two bikes are always pitted in comparison against each other. Yes, as you must have seen from the title itself, we are going to be comparing the Bajaj Dominar 2018 against the Royal Enfield Himalayan 2018 as well. Now, of course, if you remember, the first shots were fired by Bajaj when they came out with the Hathi Mat Palo campaign. And while that might not have been targeted specifically towards the Himalayan, they were still taking all of these shots against the Royal Enfield guys. And of course, you know how sensitive the Royal Enfield fan base can be. They took it too hard, they got their panties in a bunch, they got offended. But Bajaj laughed their way to the bank because ultimately I think their objective was to create a sense of controversy, to grab eyeballs, to get attention towards their brand. And they succeeded in doing that because, like they say in 2018, any publicity is good publicity. But leaving all of that aside, because today in this video, we're taking the marketing, we're taking the advertising, we're taking the hype and putting all of that to the side, we're just going to be comparing these two bikes machine against machine. So the Royal Enfield 2018 Himalayan versus the Bajaj Dominar 2018 compared with each other in the most honest and objective manner, coming up right here on the Savant Life, right here, right now. Let's get this started. Criteria number one, let's talk about the looks. Of course, as you can probably tell, I'm all about the looks, especially when it comes to motorcycles. That is the first thing that catches my attention. And when you talk about the looks, I think the clear winner in this department, at least for me, is the Royal Enfield Himalayan. It has these looks which are raw, rugged, intense, retro, and it is very true to its character. It is supposed to be an adventure tourer, and the bike definitely looks like one. It is also very modification friendly. You can take the Royal Enfield Himalayan and you can really make this bike your own. You can go crazy, you can go wild in terms of your imagination, and there are plenty of examples online of how people have modified the Royal Enfield Himalayan, and somehow, coincidentally, a lot of these examples are from Kerala. What is going on in Kerala? What are people over there drinking? I mean, oh, maybe they're not drinking because alcohol was banned over there, but whatever they're doing, they seem to be doing something right because their bikes, their cars are modified in the most tasteful manner possible. The modification scene over there is completely lit. And these guys have turned the Royal Enfield Himalayan into a scrambler, into a bobber, and so many different things. Go check it out. If you don't believe me, Google it and see for yourself what this bike can look like if you just have a little bit of money and some imagination to make your dreams come true. The Bajaj Dominar, on the other hand, looks like a compromise or a blend between a naked bike and a power cruiser. Bajaj has done its best to be inspired from the Ducati Diavel, and I necessarily don't have a problem with that. I in fact quite liked the original classic white Dominar because I think it looked really nice, basic and simple. And if you modified it just in the right way by adding white strips on the wheels, taking off the mirrors, this bike could look pretty mean. However, I'm not such a big fan of the recent iterations of the bikes, especially the new colors, the red and gold, the blue and gold, the black and gold. So what is the obsession that people have with gold? I don't think it really works well on this bike at all. But again, like I said, that is completely subjective because it is all about the looks. But hey, speaking of looks, style and fashion, if you're into that kind of thing, don't forget to follow me on my Instagram, which is The Savant Life. Now let's talk about the performance of both of these bikes. The Bajaj Dominar comes in with a single-cylinder, 4-valve, triple-spark DTSI engine, which is very similar to the KTM Duke 390, but also worlds apart. The Dominar can crank out 35 bhp of power with 35 Newton meters of torque with a claim top speed of 148 kilometers per hour. It also comes with a slipper clutch, which makes for more convenient riding, and a 13-litre tank, which actually looks deceptively big from the outside, but with a disappointing mileage of only about 28 kilometers per litre. If you're doing one of those highway runs, you will have to make a lot more pit stops than you might originally like if you want to continue dominating the roads. See what I did there? It's a pun. It's called a pun. Dominar, dominating. You get it? I thought as much. Now do keep in mind that the Bajaj Dominar comes with a 6-speed gearbox, whereas the Himalayan comes with only 5. Now this is not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're someone who's discerning about all of the specs and figures, this is definitely something that you might want to keep in mind. The Royal Enfield Himalayan comes in with a single-cylinder, 4-stroke, air-cooled 411cc engine that can produce a massive 25 bhp of power and 32 newton meters of torque. Now, I personally think that the Himalayan would have done really well if it had an additional 5 bhp of power, especially when you decide to take it on roads less traveled. It's perfectly fine within the city, but I was talking to someone who has just recently come back from a trip to Leh Ladakh, and they shared the same opinion. They felt that the Himalayan would have been a terrific package if it just had a little more power. However, staying true to character, the Himalayan has a rather enormous 15-litre tank, and with a pretty impressive mileage of about 36 kilometers per litre, it can give you a very impressive range of 540 kilometers, making sure that the bike does exactly what it is supposed to do, and that is take you to places unknown. Now let's talk about handling and comfort, and I personally think that this is the most important area of comparison, because all of the specs and all of the numbers are fine and dandy, but really you rate a motorcycle based on how it feels between your legs when you're actually riding it. That somehow did not sound very right, did it? A motorcycle between your legs, but you get the drift. You guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, this is a motorcycling channel. This is not a, you get the idea. So let's talk about the Himalayan. And to do just that, let me give you a little bit of background. I'm 5 feet 11, and as you can make out, I'm rather skinny. And I love the Himalayan. I felt very comfortable on it. Even though it's a pretty heavy bike, I did not feel the weight of the bike. It's tall, it's imposing, and it lets you know instantly that you're riding a specialist bike. The Himalayan is definitely not suffering from any kind of identity crisis. It is out and out an adventure tourer and handles exactly like one. Now, that does not mean that you can't use this for city riding. You can, but I personally somehow would not feel very comfortable taking in the Himalayan, let's say, to office every single day, getting off of that kind of a bike, walking into my cubicle, and then having to open up an Excel sheet. But hey, that is just me. But getting back to the Himalayan, I love the fact that the 2018 version has better suspension, improved riding quality, and it just has lesser vibrations, better build quality and all of that, which is incredible news, especially if you are a Royal Enfield fan. Now, the Bajaj Dominar, on the other hand, is actually a bike that I found to be on the heavier side, and that is incredibly funny because actually the Dominar is a good 9 kgs lighter than the Himalayan. So I can't really come up with any practical reason to explain this, except for probably weight distribution and the fact that the Dominar is much lower slung. However, it could also be that all of this is just in my head, and I had these preconceived notions because I thought of the Dominar based on its looks as this very heavy and bulky kind of a bike, and that maybe affected my interpretation of it. However, most of you would be thrilled to know that the seat height of the Bajaj Dominar is only about 805 millimeters, making it very suitable for short-heighted and average riders. And I can tell you right now, the Himalayan is a pretty tall bike. It has a seat height of 840 millimeters, and anyone who is 5'6" or shorter will have a bit of a tough time on it. Also, the braking on the Dominar felt a lot more sure-footed, and I was very certain that I could get the bike to behave. To me, it was very clear that the Bajaj Dominar is a bike that I could strip down, modify a little bit, and use both as a daily driver and also for the impulsive weekend getaway. Now let's talk about that favorite subject for all of us Indians, value for money. And this is going to be a little tricky because I've always thought of Bajaj as the Xiaomi of the Indian motorcycling market. They've always done really well in pricing their products to be accessible to the widest and the largest audience possible, and the Bajaj Dominar is no exception. The ABS version comes in at 2,14,000 rupees on road in a city like Bangalore, and the non-ABS version comes in at just under 2 lakhs, and that, my friends, is the definition of value for money. The Royal Enfield Himalayan, though, is going to make you loosen your purse strings just a little bit for those rugged looks, the authentic tourist style, and of course the Royal Enfield badge. The one with the fuel injection comes in at 2,15,000 rupees on road in Bangalore, and the ABS version comes in at a slightly higher 2,35,000 rupees on road. Now, before you spend that kind of money on a bike that has a history of being unreliable, substandard, and facing all kinds of quality issues, it is only natural to think twice. But the good news is the 2018 upgrade is not just a new and improved version on paper, it is truly new and improved. I've ridden it myself, and I can say that a lot of those issues were in relation to vibration, build quality, and handling have been fixed by Royal Enfield, and if you're truly a Royal Enfield fan, that would be music to your ears. And finally, like I normally do, let's talk a little bit about the personality of both of these bikes. The Bajaj Dominar is positioned as a power cruiser, essentially a made-up term by Bajaj that is used to describe an all-rounder of a bike that lets you stand apart from the regular Pulsars without having to break the bank. The Dominar is really like a faux leather jacket that lets you look cool and also protects you from the cold breeze, but if the temperature drops into the single digits, then it is not really going to cut it. But hey, that is not really a bad thing, because considering kind of lifestyle that most of us lead, you don't really need a genuine leather jacket, especially in this kind of heat, and you definitely don't really need a proper adventure tourer. If you want a bike that will basically allow you to cut through traffic on your way to office in Marathalli and also allow you to go on that once in a 2-month weekend cruise, then the Bajaj Dominar will more than gladly be your huckleberry. The Royal Enfield Himalayan, on the other hand, is definitely no Hathi, but it tries its best to be the common man's Triumph Tiger. It is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Indian motorcycling enthusiast who's increasingly begun to chart his own journey into lands unknown. It is a very simple and reliable tourer that looks good, feels big, and delivers when the going gets really tough. So if you are a true blue enthusiast, a true blue traveler who is going to tap into the full potential of this tourer bike by taking it to places that cannot easily be found on Google Maps, then the Royal Enfield Himalayan is the trusted steed that you've been looking for. That is my quick comparison of the Bajaj Dominar 2018 and the Royal Enfield Himalayan 2018 on 5 different parameters. I've tried to be as objective, as neutral, as honest, and as observant as humanly possible. I hope you guys really liked this and found it to be useful. If you have any kind of questions, feedback, comments, then go ahead and drop them over there in the comment section below, and I shall try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you like this video, then go ahead and hit that like button and share it with your friends and family. And if this by any chance is your first time around with the Savant Life, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Yes, because it's free and it only takes a second. And while you're at it, also click on the bell icon so that you can be notified when yours truly puts out more new videos. And I will see you the next time around with another brand new video. It could be about motorcycles, maybe it might be about something else, like I said in my 25,000 celebration video, but you wait for that, and I can only tell you that it will be worth your wait. I'm going to try a whole lot of new content, new ideas, travel logs and what have you. All of that is coming your way, so stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Take care, ride safe, be good, and as always, have fun.